You're on tour at the moment.
I'm on tour at the moment, yeah.
How are you finding it?
I find it good. I'm 59 dates, not that I'm counting, 59 dates into about 130, 140.
Wow.
I haven't totted them up. But yeah, I've got a couple of weeks break and then I'm up to the Edinburgh Festival. And I am finding it pretty good. I didn't do a gig for 6 years. This is a comeback tour for me.
Yeah.
And I always had a very odd relationship with stand-up where I sort of partly loved it and partly hated it, or not hated it, but just the pressure and the anxiety of it and the nerves and, you know, the fear of it going wrong, that just sort of gut-wrenching, nervous thing. And I think for the first time in my stand-up life, I'm starting to, the balance is tipping in favour of enjoying it. I'm starting, I think, I feel like this is the start of a new era where I enjoy it.
And is it
Almost enjoy it.
Is it the break that's made that difference?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm a bit older, maybe I'm a bit wiser, maybe I'm a bit... The subject material I'm doing is very different. It's very personal for the first time ever. Maybe that's making me a little bit more confident with it. Maybe the show's a little bit more conversational. And maybe I'm finding that a bit easier somehow than quite an affected sort of persona, you know. So maybe I'm a bit more myself on stage. Maybe that's a bit easier than what... I don't know. But I'm starting to enjoy it anyway.
I have heard that before, that people have said that when they bring their material closer to themselves, it suddenly becomes a lot more, even though it feels like it won't be more comfortable, it is, because you know it inside out. You know, you haven't necessarily rehearsed so much because it's...
Yeah, I think it might be a bit of that. I don't know. I don't know. I think you're constantly changing as a stand-up. You're constantly evolving. I mean, my style has completely changed, sort of unrecognisably from when I started. And I've gone through lots of different phases, and this phase, whatever, if this is a phase, you know, or this part of the evolution is definitely more personal. But I don't know. I feel a bit more comfortable on stage. I don't know why. Because it doesn't necessarily fit with somebody who's shy and anxious and stuff. You'd think that most people would want to put a mask up and hide behind a persona, whereas I seem to be being more comfortable getting away from that. I don't know.
Yeah, because we first met probably a couple of years ago, so midway through
about 3 or 4 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so that was right in the middle of the sort of time away from stand-up. And I remember when you had that first gig suddenly booked in again, which was a charity concert, that gig that you put on, and you were saying that you have no idea what you're going to do, what you're going to talk about, how you're going to...
Yeah, I hadn't done a gig. That was in 2017. At that point, I hadn't done a gig for 5 years.
Right.
And I hadn't written a line for 5 years. And I put on a charity show in a 1,800-seater theatre that sold out, and I didn't have a single line.
How did you
to
approach
say
that?
I was hosting it. Well, I approached it by shitting myself and writing some material, panic writing an hour. I wrote an hour of material.
Yeah.
Went to a little pub in Northampton and tried out a new hour. First gig in 5 years, and half of it worked so well that it's still the same now in my tour show. I virtually haven't changed a word.
Wow.
From that first to now, which is unheard of for me. That's really rare, you know.
Yeah.
To write something and then 2 years later on tour, after doing 40 previews and 50 odd tour shows, 59 tour shows, for it still to be word for word the same as what I wrote it, that's very, very... I've never done that before.
Yeah.
But I had an hour going into that new gig, and I half an hour of it worked really well, and half an hour of it was so bad that I ditched it that night and have never looked at it again or even tried with it, you know.
Because you repeated that gig, you put that on again, didn't you?
The big charity gig that I was writing all this material for. So I did one tryout gig, ditched half of it, kept half of it, and in that big charity gig I did the half that had worked once.
Sure.
It worked a second time, and it continues to work to this day, you know.
And it wasn't just you, it was a mixed...
No, I was hosting.
Right. Oh,
so
of course,
it was. I was hosting, and it was my night. It was called Rhod Gilbert and Friends.
Yeah.
And then it was Greg Davis, Michael McIntyre, Nick Helm, Angela Barnes.
Oh wow.
And various others. I forget now, I'm getting confused with the more recent charity gig that I did when we had John Bishop and I think Kiri Pritchard McLean did the first one as well. Yeah.
Did you feel that?
It's a hell of a lineup.
Did that help or make it harder?
That lineup.
Yeah.
Well, it put pressure on me as the host of it. And it's exciting for me because I'd sold it on Rhod Gilbert and Friends. Nobody knew who was coming. I'd sold it on my name alone.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what to expect. And suddenly, so if you're, it's for a little cancer charity in Wales, a little hospital in Wales. If you're suddenly announcing in a theatre in Wales, the likes of, these big names, the audience go wild, they're going bonkers. So that's fantastic for me. It's amazing.
I suppose a good night is guaranteed.
Yeah. So yeah. I wouldn't say it was more pressure on me. I definitely needed to go in there with some material.
Yeah.
And but no, I think I can't really remember. I mean, I've done a few since, like these big gigs, and I think it's always sold on my name. The audience never know who's coming. It's always Rhod Gilbert and Friends.
Right.
But we set a bit of a precedent in the past with these big gigs, so they're expecting good people. And so pressure's on me to find good people, really. But I'm kind of in a groove, and I'm doing stand-up again now, so I'm not so worried about them. It was just that big one. That was the only reason I went back to stand-up, because of that big bloody gig that I was staring at me. 1,800 tickets sold, and I didn't have a second of material. So.
Yeah, I suppose that's never the way around. You organically come to stand-up, having more tickets sold than material. No, not at all. Not at all. There are people out there. That will put a tour 2 years down the line. They'll book a tour in, and then they go, right now I've got to panic and write a tour. That's not my bag. I do not do that. In fact, I don't normally announce a tour until I'm pretty much nailed it. Until I've pretty much got an hour and a half or 2 hours of material nailed. But I suppose you've never gone away, because in that time between you've been on. I've gone away stand-up wise, but I suppose with repeats on TV and you're certainly I haven't gone away. In terms of my profile, it's probably gone up in those 7 years that I've been away, to be honest with you, because in those 7 years, I've done 7 series of Would I Lie to Yous, I've done several of I Got News for Yous, and 7 series of my work experience. So my profile, TV profile, has gone up. Yeah. But I just haven't done any stand-up, nothing. And I suppose that's part of it, is that you found a lot of comfort in the fact that there you are, you're making do, and if anything, getting more successful in those areas, and everything's going well. The calling from stand-up's not quite so strong as it would be if you didn't have anything else going on. But I'm just really glad that I'm going back to it, because it wasn't like I said goodbye to it properly. Do you know what I mean? I didn't officially retire. I didn't kind of think, right, that's it, I'm hanging up my boots. I just sort of did a very long tour on the last tour in 2012, the Flaming Battenberg Tattoo, and it was a lot of dates. It went on for a long time, and the show was bloody far too long. It was 2 or 3 hours every night, 2.5, 2 hours 45, and it was too long. My agent kept going to me, cut it down, less is more, and I was like, no, fuck that, more is more, more is more, give them more. It's only 2 hours 35, let's give them another 15 minutes. So she was like, so I kept on writing throughout. It just got longer and longer, and she was going like, just park it and start a new show. And I was like, no, I can't, I've got to give people value for money. And she was like, you are, it's getting less value for money the longer you go on. Wow. The more people are getting pissed off and looking at their watches and thinking the car park's shutting in a minute, and I've got to pay my babysitter overtime. But, anyway, I get it now. I get it. This show is a lot shorter. Yeah. This show's under 2 hours, and that's how it should be, I think. And the other thing you did I'm guessing this is probably not in that time off, because it's probably just around the time you did that charity gig, but you did your documentary on shyness, Stand Up to Shyness documentary, and I saw that. Yeah, that was last year. I think 2018. I think I did that. Yeah, roughly. Yeah. I think at the beginning of last year I saw it. It just popped up on iPlayer, and it came out of nowhere, as anything does. And I just thought, oh, hello. So I had a look at this, and as many people would be like, you shy? Yeah. So, well, I think that's the thing about it. I was talking to who was I talking to a couple of days ago? I was talking to somebody about this, and it's that I was talking to a journalist. That's right, doing an promo interview for Edinburgh, but saying, you don't. If you're shy, you largely try and hide it. You try and muddle through somehow, don't you? You don't. I don't know about if you're a girl or a woman growing up, but if you're a bloke, I think especially, I don't. It's not exactly a cool thing to admit that you're shy. You suffer from social anxiety. You try and hide it. And in that documentary, you saw me meeting up with Greg Davis, where I said that, I said I've met up with you to talk about shyness.
And he said, yeah, I thought you wanted to talk to me about my shyness. And I was like, no, I didn't know you're not shy. What are you talking about? I wanted you to talk about my shyness. And both of us, neither of us knew that the other one was shy. We were both like, you're not shy, get out of it. Because you put up a front and you hide it and you don't talk about it. When I met up with my friends, I've known since primary school. I've known them for 40 odd years. We met up in the pub. I asked them to meet to talk about shyness. And they were like, what are we meeting about? Who are we talking about? They thought I was going to bring out somebody from our past or something. I was like, no, we're talking about me, guys. And they were like, I had no idea. Even people I've known since I was 5 years old, no idea.
I think retrospectively, when I watched it, and then I started to look back and think about times when we've spoken and when we've worked together, and things have started to click, and I started to think, actually, I recognise a hell of a lot of the stuff that I know and feel in the way you spoke, and a lot of it is that very agreeable, very friendly, very happy to do anything to help. Yes is exactly how I experience it. In that I think a lot of the time, no, I don't really want to do that, but I can't say that in front of people. Like I, especially.
If you're shy, I think you've got terrible boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, becoming a father was one thing that made me suddenly lose a lot of the worry about the little things. Suddenly something mattered more, and that really changed a lot of my kind of experiences socially. So it was only really then that I started to think, actually, that was a load of bollocks what I was worried about back in sixth form and school and stuff. And so it's only started to really take shape in terms of recognising it and being able to talk critically about it and find the funny in it, I suppose, because before it was just normality, it was how it was. But one thing that I was interested in the documentary is that a lot of people have come to you afterwards and say, oh my God, I had no idea. I had no idea. But in the documentary, you look back at photos of yourself as a child and yours.
Yeah, that was very telling, that surprised me, that did. That totally surprised me. In a lot of them, not all of them by any means, but a lot of them, I got my hand in front of my face as a young kid. Even when the lens is 10 metres away and somebody, whatever I'm doing, sitting at a cafe, got hand in front of your face, blocking the camera, doing, I don't know, there's one where I was just playing on the front lawn of my granddad's, hand in front of my face, blocking the camera, from about 4 or 5 years old to I don't know, well, the photos I was looking at were all they only went up to a teenager, 16, 17, but I'd say 60, 70% of them, I've got my hand blocking the camera, which is quite weird for a young bloke, I think, a young boy, isn't it? I would think that's unusual.
I suppose, especially if you don't remember doing it.
I don't remember doing that at all, no. I don't remember, and I don't remember having any sort of anxiety around cameras or fear of my, my spirit being stolen, like by somebody taking my picture. I don't remember anything about having my photo taken. But in those photos were really surprising to me, and they made a lot of sense now, looking back at them. But nobody knows about it. My closest friends, because why? You're not going to talk about it, especially lads. I grew up in a tough. Well, my stand-up, I describe it as a West Walian, hard-drinking, hard-fighting rugby town where men are men, women are men, pets are men, babies are men, children are men. Like, why would you talk about struggling to go in a coffee shop on your own, or not being able to eat in a restaurant, or I just never used to go to school. I used to feel physically sick. I used to say I'm ill, and then as soon as I got the day off, I got the okay, you don't have to go in then. It's absolutely fine. Off on your bike, absolutely fine. The sickness, the nausea disappears instantly because it's anxiety. As soon as the anxiety of school is gone, or that social situation is gone, and you're on your own again, absolutely fine.
I remember we spoke again, I think, in the months afterwards. I think I saw you on a show, and I said, I loved watching it, it's great. And you told me that there was loads more that didn't get on.
Oh God, we scratched the surface. I think it's very hard doing. It's my first sort of serious 1 hour documentary, but we scratched the surface. We had so much more because we're going into it. I was sort of concerned that I've never done an hour documentary before on TV, and it's a long time. I've done half an hour, lots of half an hour things, always comedy programs. But it's a long time now, and I was worried that what the hell are we going to say with shyness and stuff. And in the end, I was gutted. We lost so much great stuff, and we only scratched the surface, really. I think it was a surface that needed scratching, and by the response I got from people from all over the world, literally, I've never had a response like it. I was getting letters from 81-year-old Australian women who've seen it, and have never even told their husband, and thanks for doing the program, and
Wow.
the first time I've seen anything like just from all over the world, letters from Canada, from handwritten letters from. I've never had that from people either go, I thought you were funny, or you're a dick. That's the response I get
binary.
to well, and everything in between. Oh, you're a dick, but you're quite funny. But no, this was like real heartfelt, pages and pages of handwritten stuff about people telling me their whole life story about from being a teenage girl growing up in Canada or wherever it was to to getting married, and all of this whole life story about social anxiety. It's just shyness sometimes, which is such a vague word.
It is, yeah.
Such a vague sort of difficult thing to pin down.
The other thing I think doesn't seem to make sense is that
a lot of shyness stuff doesn't make sense, I think.
No, and of course
it's massively contradictory. It's massively, at least unless you're somebody who's really studied this and understand and can I'm sure there are people out there that can tell you. I mean, I spoke to loads of them, but I've forgotten half what they said now.
Yeah.
As interesting as it was, but yeah, if you're just a lay person like us, just sort of struggling to make sense of it, hardly any of it makes sense. I mean, so much of it is so absolutely contradictory.
Yeah.
And like what we do for a living,
Well, that's it, and that's the things the challenge you set yourself and these guys on the show was to come and do 5 minutes.
Yeah, The reason I tried to do that with them is it's a little bit CBT-ish, I went to see a CBT person, and they went, one of the things that we would do with somebody who said they were shy is challenge that perception of themselves. So if somebody says, "Oh, I feel like when I'm walking down the street, everybody's looking at me," you go, "Okay, well, let's challenge that perception." CBT would say, I'm not a CBT expert, but they'd say something like, "Okay, we'll set up some video cameras. You're going to walk down the street, and then we'll play it back to you, and you're going to watch it, and you'll see that absolutely nobody was looking at you.
Yeah.
And you could have been invisible walking down that street. So why do you think, oh God, everybody's staring at me? Not a single person even clocked you. You show somebody that, so you're challenging their notions and perceptions, their perceptions of their experiences. And this CBT person said to me, that's kind of what you've done with stand-up, really, because there's no greater thing of putting yourself out there front and centre. So you really challenged yourself in a serious way, and you've also got instant feedback. The equivalent of the video that we're showing you is feedback from an audience, that you're getting that instant feedback. So if you're saying, oh God, I can't stand up and talk because nobody be interested, why would anybody be interested in me, and why would anybody be laughing, why would enjoy my company, I'm awful, all that kind of self-loathing and self-esteem. If you're getting laughs off an audience, it instantly challenges that. And it's very hard to refute it. It's very hard to. So that's what I was trying to do with those three sort of shy people, was say to them, look, I'm just challenge those voices in your head, those voices that say, I'm not interesting, I'm not worthy of anybody's attention, and nobody's, what I mean, all those kind of, it's perhaps more self-esteem than shy in a way, a lot of it, but getting up there and talking and people staring at you, people listening, reacting and things like that is it's quite it sends quite a powerful thing to them. I think it sort of stopped even if it stopped the voices in their head just for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just allowing you to entertain a different experience of the world, and to entertain the idea that the world isn't how you insist on seeing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And do you feel, looking back, that it went well? It must be quite nice.
Yeah, it went incredibly well, and I think we did challenge their perceptions of themselves and their perceptions of their place in the world and how people responded to them and stuff like that. I'm still in touch with certainly two of them a lot.
Right.
I see one of them occasionally, and they've all got their issues and things because they're struggling with all sorts of related stuff.
That's
But that experience, I think, sort of that experiment worked. They, in a kind of CBT sort of way,
it poked a hole in.
It just provoked other thoughts, I think, that wouldn't necessarily have occurred to them without that. Just a little confidence boost as well, I think. Because a lot of shyness is confidence, and it's somebody described it in that program. Somebody who ran a shyness group in London described it as a contextual lack of confidence. So it's lacking confidence in one or more than one specific area.
Yeah.
You know, like with me, I can do stand-up, but I can't go and have a coffee after the show on my own.
Yeah.
Even though I've just stood up in front of, I don't know, however many thousand people. If you then said, right, as soon as you come off stage, a lot of those punters are in a coffee shop just across the road. We just go in there and order a coffee, stuff like that. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a completely different context, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a different, you know, and most people would go, well, how does that work? That doesn't make any sense. You're like, no.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't. But when I was standing in front of that audience doing my stand-up, I didn't feel observed. I didn't feel watched. But when I go in that coffee shop, I will feel observed. I will feel watched. I feel very, the term self-conscious. I will be aware of my own physicality and presence in this coffee shop, and it will
upsetting the ecosystem of the coffee shop and everything. That's yeah, I know what I mean. So with that in mind,
that doesn't make any real sense. Logically.
None when you say it out loud.
No. Which is why you don't tell anyone. Why you don't say it out loud.
And then hence
and why when you do say it out loud, everyone goes, "What? You're not shy."
So with that in mind, I wonder, going back as many years as it's been on, how did the concept of work experience come about? Because that seems like a nightmare. In that environment.
It is me going into new work environments and having to start from scratch.
First day at work feels like a classic case of
but don't forget that's a conceit, that's a telly conceit, isn't it? It's not really a first day at work. I mean, the program is meant to be a little entertaining insight into a job. So in the program, the idea is I go and do a job for a few days. So I have a day or two's training and I try the job for a day or two. Yeah. And it's just a bit of fun. It's meant to be a little entertaining insight into everyday jobs. It's not toughest jobs, nothing. It's just normal jobs. But it's not. That's the TV idea. But don't forget, I'm arriving with producer and my cameraman and sound guy, whatever, and we're introduced and everything's on camera where it's a bit of a performance and I'm playing up to the camera and stuff. So I find it much hard to do the thing you're describing, the first day at work thing, over and over again. I've done 32 episodes. God, the last thing I would want to do is have to move jobs and have to try and make friends and fit in and do that 32 times would be my worst nightmare. But doing it on camera as Rhod Gilbert, comedian, TV personality, with a camera there and stuff like that, I don't find it easy, but it's a hell of a lot easier. I've got those props around me. Yeah. Completely change the nature of what you're doing. Yeah. Because if you took all of that away, you just went, right, we'll just start a new job every week. I'd be like, oh, fuck it, no, of course not. I agree with you then. That's real life. That
makes sense, because I suppose and it is funny. So it's entertaining. So you know that there is a purpose beyond just you doing the job. There's a camera.
Yeah. I'm only half on my 50. I'm probably 10% of my mind is on doing the job. 90% of it is on sort of directing the TV element. Yeah. And trying to think how to get humour out of this and make this an entertaining watch. It's only literally 10% of my brain is on actually doing the job.
That clearly shows in some of the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, but I mean, it's sort of, it's quite perfect in my taste in that sort of, put comedians in these situations type TV, which is now quite significantly taking over a lot of the stuff. Travelogues all over the place and stuff, and of course, from the slight inside knowledge I have, I know that there's a hell of a lot of producing that goes into some of these things, and some of it is more just guidance, and some of it is literally, let's do that again, but let's do it this way, let's do it, and I think I can see, at least from having known those differences, see the ones that are genuinely, they're a linear course, but you've got a real steer on it, and I think it's a thing I hope continues.
I enjoy it. It's not an easy program to make, because with those travelogues and stuff, you're dealing for a start with, interesting landscapes, cultures, people. You've got that there's. If you go to India, and I don't know, go and get your ears cleaned out by some fascinating person with a piece of wire and a cotton bud, and it's that kind of experiences and meeting those kind of people and and you're out completely fish out of water kind of stuff. Yeah, that's much more inherently interesting than watching me be a bus driver or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Which you go, well, I'm not inherently interested in this. Do you know what I mean? It's not necessarily especially interesting people do down a mine or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's your base materials are considerably less exotic.
Yeah, but that's sometimes what brings out the beauty in those, is that these people are then in the position where they can be funny about a subject.
We're very much letting them be the stars, and I have fun with them, but never at them, hopefully.
No, yeah, well, that's it. And I think a lot of the travelogues that I've come to love, they often are, there's the Taj Mahal and there's the lovely stuff, but we're going this way and we're doing this, and then there's, and obviously there's again a level of production where it's they're aware or they're not aware, and there's different parts of it, but as long as there's a genuine connection to sort of the viewer, and the whole talking off camera to the director is a whole new thing that in the last couple of years has really started to become quite normal and very popular.
Yeah, I would try that, but we haven't got a director.
I remember you saying it was quite a small team.
It's It's slightly changed in the last series because our sound guy has emigrated, so we've slightly reconfigured the very small team. But for the last 8 series, it's been myself and the cameraman and the sound guy. They both happen to be men, and we direct it ourselves. Yeah, the 3 of us basically.
Does that give you a nice feeling of control?
Sometimes I wish we had somebody. I'm flat out sort of doing the job that I'm supposed to be doing, and trying to be sort of funny, and trying to get the best out of the characters. The cameraman's flat out being a cameraman, and the sound guy's flat out doing the sound. Yeah. So I sometimes wish we had somebody who was just being a director. Yeah. But it seems to have worked. We're on series 9, so something's got to be. We must be doing something right, and and I think I've come to appreciate a small team and that control that it gives you.
Yeah, because I think control can be good and bad in that way, isn't it? Because it's at a nice point where, like you say, there's a bit of space where you'd like a bit more headspace, where you're not thinking about that stuff. Yeah. You can concentrate on just being you going through this thing and doing the performance and stuff.
I remember when I did Travel Man with Richard Iwat. Yeah. And we went to Miami, and I was talking to the producer ahead of it, and I said, so how big, what was the team? And he goes, oh, it's very small, we've just got a couple of minibuses. And I was like, right, that is not small, mate. Yeah. That is not small. There's 3 of us on work experience. It's a very similar type of show. But yeah, so they had several camera people, several sound people, directors, second directors, it's just ADs, all these people, runners. We're going, Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I've done anything else, there's a much bigger team. On everything I've ever done, there's a much bigger team. And I've always, years ago, I used to go, God, I wish we had this, Yeah. And then, but every time I said that to the bigger team that I was filming with, and I told them about work experience being 3 of us, they would always say, oh God, that's so much better. That's the way you want to do it. So it's slightly grass is always greener, I think. But the weird thing with us, with work experience, is we also edit it. And then I write the voiceover, so that's pretty much the total team, Yeah. So we don't even on Travel Man and all those kind of things. You're talking whatever, they'll hand it over to editors and stuff. Yeah. But not we edit it ourselves. So.
Yeah, and that's the big part of the story.
But again, that's where we make it happen. Really, to be honest with you, that is the amount of time that goes into the edit. Yeah. Is massive, absolutely. I personally spend 1 week per episode in the edit.
Just carving the story.
Yeah.
And that's where
and the guys spend weeks in there per episode before I even get in there, Right. So it's massive, the editing job, and that's where we make it happen, really,
What kind of shows have you done since that you think are just perfect for you? I enjoyed Taskmaster. That was a highlight.
Taskmaster was a weird one when you talk about sort of anxiety and shyness and stuff, because. And I've turned it down for years.
Right, yeah.
They've been asking me to do it. I'm not. This isn't like the big I am. Hey, I know they finally got me. They finally landed the big Gilbert. I'm not saying that, but I turned it down. You get asked to do things, and sometimes you can do. Some years you can do them. Some years you can't. Sometimes you say I'd love to do it, but I can't do it this year because I'm on tour. Whatever, But they've been asking me to do it for a few years, and I haven't done it. And the reason I hadn't done it is because I thought my shyness and sort of self-consciousness, not only having seen it on TV like anybody else, it looked to me like it might be my worst nightmare, really.
Sure.
In terms of sort of self-consciousness and I don't know, just walking into a room where you've got to be you know, got to be funny, you've got to be original, you've got to be intelligent, you've got to be, and in that moment, in those 10 seconds, you've got to come up with something that nobody else has kind of thought of, and it's quirky and it's funny, and it's, you know, and that sort of, I'm relating it to shyness, maybe it's not even related to shyness, I just thought that kind of pressure, but of course, that's why the programme works, is putting people under that kind of pressure and seeing what happens, you know, and largely they put me under that kind of pressure, and two things happened. One, I cracked totally, or two, I came up with something that I was really quite proud of, and I think I nailed quite a few of them, you know, like...
That was something that I remember just thinking, that was it, yours went in one way or the other with regards to...
Yeah, it was all or nothing, yeah.
And that's guaranteed entertainment, because it's either ticks the box and you've done the thing, and you've got like a smartness look in the chair or in the studio, and the other ones where it hasn't worked, but between you and Alex, there's that level of humour just exists through that as well.
Yeah. It's a great concept Alex has come up with there, and the two of them, Greg and Alex, are fantastic in the studio. Alex is great on the task. It's a wonderful team. Talk about teams, we're talking about production teams. It's a considerably bigger team than Work Experience, but they're very, very nice and make you feel very comfortable and very at home. That really helped me. The team that they had, they really helped me as a shy, self-conscious, anxious person. Wow, it really helped me.
Because it's been, you know, in the last couple of years I've obviously worked on various shows and done things, and that's been so high up the list in terms of just being on that team, just being at that house and being part of that, and that even just seeing your one where you got everyone together to play Space Invaders. For a day's work, hang on.
Exactly. That's good fun. It was great, and I did really enjoy it, but I did have a bit of a meltdown at times, you know, my sort of self-consciousness and shyness. I mean, sometimes I just push through it, you know. So I think sometimes if you're very shy and self-conscious, sometimes you try and overcompensate.
Yeah.
Like I ended up sort of half naked quite a lot, really. For somebody who's sort of shy and self-conscious and embarrassed, of all the people on it, I ended up in doing things that you would think are the opposite of that.
You throw it all the other way, don't you?
You throw it, you try too hard and you overcompensate, and you go a bit mad and come out the other end, and so if you were watching Taskmaster, you'd think that I was, you know, one of the most confident people on there, because if you're stripping down to a bikini and wearing that and all this kind of stuff, you know, but it's not. It's just panic. It's sheer panic, and it's. Yeah. I think it's a overcompensation the other way.
It was the people I admire. It was the perfect group. You know, Kerry is just one of my favourite.
Godlyman. It always relies on the mix. It's always like any panel show. It's the mix, and it's always a mix of people. They're very good at getting a good mix, and we really enjoyed it. I think Acaster was furious a lot of the time. But
but then in the times I've spoken to him and chatted to him, he's just a different man on and off stage and off screen. And, I think,
it was very entertaining. It was all good fun. But I think, and it was good fun because he was genuinely annoyed. Right. I don't care what he says. He was genuinely annoyed, and but still, that was still good fun and entertaining, and you know, and a bit of genuine grievance and genuine competition that's what you want.
Exactly, and that's what that show's nailed, because you know that's it. There's those arguments and those moments, and it's funny. Everyone's laughing, and if people stop laughing, that'll be a sign that things are gone far. Yeah. But no, that's brilliant. And even just when he's mouthed off to Greg and Greg's taking him over. Those moments.
Yeah, those nice moments.
I just want to be in that room. You just
want to be in Greg's arms, held by the giant.
But you've utilised your friendship with Greg quite well in your prep tasks, or the ones you have to bring.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird one, that, because we know each other so well that it's quite. I don't think I've ever. I'm trying to think if I've ever done a programme like with somebody I know so well where the roles are similar, where the whole point of it is they're trying to sort of humiliate me. Yeah. But in giving me those tasks, I've got the opportunity to hit back a bit, you know. So it was, and I think looking at, and I'm not on social media especially, but I've heard, you know, I think it sort of split the room a bit. That either people really enjoyed our friendship and relationship, or they found it really irritating, as Acaster did, and found it and thought that favouritism was being shown and all this kind of shit, you know. Yeah. And I didn't give a toss about the scoring from start to finish.
No, well, I mean, you got penalised as much as you got praised for those things. Oh God, I got
penalised for all. Exactly, absolutely, yeah. There was some, but it was, so that sort of split the room, our friendship. But it is, I mean, for me, for me it was great. Again, as a shy, nervous, slightly, I'm neurotic. I'm a bag of nerves in studio. I'm a bag of nerves. Whatever I'm doing, I'm a bag of nerves. I operate on nervous energy. So much nervous energy. I'm starving. Last night, I did a tour show in Woking last night. Before I went on stage, I had a fish pie for 2. One of these M&S fish pies for 2. I ate that. Then I had a banana, and then I had a granola bar. This is all within an hour of going on stage.
Yeah.
So this is from 7 to 8. I went on stage at 8 o'clock. I did 52 minutes, and then I came off, and I had a pack of sandwiches, and a tangerine, and a banana, and I was still hungry when I went on for the second half. And I'm burning off so much nervous energy. It's incredible. Yeah. It's incredible.
That's such an effect, doesn't it?
It's just massive. It's just crazy. It's just sheer nervous energy, I think, being burnt off.
And they're quite dense foods, isn't they?
They're very dense. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I find it almost hard to not be really hungry coming off, like you run a marathon or something. I don't know. I've never run a marathon, never done any exercise, so I don't know what it equates to. But it's weird. Like you feel like you've gone 5 hours without food, and actually you've gone 52 minutes. But I'm a bag of nerves. Whether it's hosting the Apprentice thing or hosting a panel show or on a panel show, whether it's live stand-up work or whatever, I am absolute bag of nerves. The only thing I'm not is radio. Right. My radio show. It's the only thing I'm not absolutely just a bag of nerves on. Yeah. It calms down a bit. With the stand-up, it calms down. It's the first few minutes that I'm.
Yeah. Why do you find that's the case with radio?
I don't know. I do not know. I think it's because there's no audience in front of you.
Yeah.
I think it's an audience in front of me, sat there looking at you. That's what puts the pressure on. And it's the pressure and the fear of it not working, the fear of that, of them. That's what creates the nerves. I think I don't have it. I'm trying to think. On my radio show, I'm obviously very comfortable in that now, and I've stopped doing it for a bit. But I've done it for 13 years, or 12 years, or 11 years, something like that. I forget. But a long time. But I'm very comfortable with it. But I'm trying to think when I've stood in on Radio 2 for Graham Norton or somebody like that. I'm trying to think if I've been. The nerves they're not there as much. I just don't think they're there as much.
I want to talk about any advice you may give to people who suffer from shyness and social anxiety and things, in terms of things you've come across that you've found help.
I think I got two. This won't be a surprise. 2 conflicting bits of advice.
Okay.
I think because one like Boris Johnson wrote 2 famously, apocryphally perhaps, wrote 2 arguments, 2 letters or whatever they were, 2 cases, one for Remain and one for Leave.
Yeah.
And then plumbed for Leave in the end. I would do the same thing about shyness. I think I would write 1 letter to people where I say, stop beating yourself up, stop giving yourself a hard time, make a list of the things that you can't do, the things where you're contextually lacking confidence, whether it's going in a coffee shop, whether it's going to a party, whether it's whatever thing it might be. I don't know, whatever yours might be, whatever situations there. For me, it would be can't go to a coffee shop, can't go to a party on your own, can't go to a restaurant on your own. They're mostly things on your own, because all of these things I can do with other people.
Yeah.
So they're all things I can't do on my own. Make a list of those and just avoid them. You don't need to do them.
Yeah.
You don't need to go to a coffee shop on your own. I'm 50 years old. I don't think I've ever done it. I don't need to.
You got by right.
You just get a coffee machine at home. Do you know what I mean? Or, do you know what I mean? Just you don't need to master these things, whatever they might be. I've never chatted a girl up. I've never asked a girl to dance. I've never, in my life, offered to buy a girl, all those things of, sort of to woo a partner. You know what I mean? There's some very old-fashioned words in all this, but I am 50 odd, so it doesn't matter. But you know what I mean? I've never done any of those things. I can't do them. Well, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't. I've had girlfriends and partners and I'm married. You know what I mean? Then there's other ways around things. That would be 1 letter I would write.
Yeah.
And then the other letter would be the absolute opposite, where I would say, challenge yourself to do the exact thing that you think you can't do. So if you can't go into coffee shops on your own, just do it. Every day for a week, do it. Every day for a month, just do it. Force yourself to do it, and look around you and see that nobody's looking at you, and see that nobody gives two shits about you, and see that there's no need to be self-conscious because everybody's doing their own bloody thing. You know, if you can't chat about, you know, somebody, a boy, girl, whatever, you want, just do it. Just force yourself to do it. Just stop thinking about it. Stop thinking at all, and just go. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to do it, and totally challenge yourself, and start to. And what will happen, almost certainly, for most levels of shyness and things, you know, this is a hell of a spectrum, shyness and social anxiety, you know, and we're talking very generally.
Yeah.
But for most people on most parts of that spectrum, I suspect that they'll tick those things off and go, what was I worried about? I can now do that, you know.
That's quite a good way to look at it, because it isn't something that has a linear, here's the issue, here's the solution. It's a thing you manage, and I suppose it's having, if you're in the mood that you need to challenge yourself, there's the challenge side, and then if you're not in the mood for that, if you just need to relieve yourself of the pressure, then relieve yourself of the pressure, don't put yourself in a position. So that's, it's a good way to have both sides of it. And also it can
it depends how much of an issue it is for you, you know, and which one of those ideas, or it could be there's a million other ideas, which one of those two of my suggestions appeals to you.
Yeah.
If you instantly gravitate towards one of those, then go for that, you know.
Because my thing I've picked up on that, I've noticed myself.
Or mix and match them and go, I really want to be able to do that one, but I'm not bothered about that one, so I'll avoid that one and not worry about it. Write it on, try and do the other one. You know.
Yeah, just don't waste time. I found that if I pick on something and start focusing on it, everything goes into that. All of my thoughts and my time and everything. I forget I have a wife and children and everything. Just that becomes what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And
it's a waste of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well say, go lift that car above your head, and you go, well, I can't. You go, does it matter? No.
Yeah.
Well, there you go then.
And that's all you have to do. You have to have that conversation to relieve get the other side of that point where you realise that actually it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
So
all of us possibilities are limited in some way or another.
Yeah.
If they're limited emotionally, psychologically, through your personality, then don't worry about it. I mean, I think I gravitate to the don't worry about it at school and give yourself a break.
Yeah. There's too much other things to be enjoying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like performing comedy on stage.
Yeah. And maybe I'm partly starting to enjoy that more, partly from going through that documentary process, maybe just getting a bit older and wiser, and I don't know. You do grow out of some of these shyness things, I think, as well, to some degree. You know, again, one of the themes of the letters and emails and things that I received after that documentary, one of the themes of it was people, not always, but often growing out of stuff and finding that as they got older now they could do more things, and a lot of it's to do with not giving so much of a shit.
Yeah.
You know, and not caring so much about what other people think, because I think most shyness, self-conscious stuff, things like that is about what other people think of you. And I think broadly, as you get older, you know, there's not for everybody, but broadly the graph of people, you know, if you put X is age and Y is give a shit, then the graph follows a fairly predictable path.
So always a great way to make a point is with a graph.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a fairly strong correlation between getting older and giving less of a shit what people think of you.
Yeah.
Which is don't take it to its extremes. It's incredibly dangerous. Probably leads to fascism and stuff. But yeah.
No, I mean, definitely the turning point for me was having children. Like having something that was a bit more important than me made a massive difference. And just in terms of the way I managed work, where someone before would be like, oh Tom, can you stay late? Can you do this? Can you? And I'm like, I can't say no because it's my kind of job and that's my boss.
I'd be interested to see how it happens with kids though, because I think one of the most difficult things with shyness is struggling with the concept of identity and struggling with the concept of family, because I wonder how it'll go once your kids are a bit older and once they're starting to look at you and at the moment they're so young. What is it? Boy, isn't it?
Boy and girl. So
boy and girl,
2 and 3.
Yeah, 2 and 3. Yeah. They're so young that you probably don't feel self-conscious under their gaze.
Yeah.
I reckon in a year, which I'm no expert on kids, but I reckon in a year or 2 years or 3 years or 4, soon you're going to start to feel the weight of their perspicacity. You're going to feel the weight of their gaze on you, and you're going to start to perhaps shift a little uncomfortably if you're a naturally shy person, you know, and that notions of identity and family where you are sort of, you know, completely DNA and genetically linked, but that's such a difficult thing to struggle with when you're, you know, it's an odd thing to separate yourself from your family and become, you know, you're your own person, but you're very much part of a unit, aren't you, genetically in every other way. So you're kind of like, I think notions of identity and individuality are really hard in families. I think lots of people struggle with notions of identity, don't they, I think, and self-consciousness with their family. And I think, it'll be interesting to see whether, because right now you're saying that that's made you a bit more confident, a bit, you know, and a bit, whereas it'd be interesting to see how that develops and
I feel like
how your reaction then shapes your kids as well. I don't know. I've always found family one of the hardest things to deal with in terms of shyness. I feel more shy with my family and more self-conscious with my family than I do with any other individual on the planet.
And so you're now, are you over halfway through the tour, or are you about halfway?
No, I'm not even halfway through it, I think.
So this is you now for the next foreseeable.
This is me till about for about another 8 months or something.
And are you? I mean, I want to ask: are you writing more? Have you got new ideas?
I'm not writing more. I've got no new ideas, but I sort of think I'm sort of quite interested to see what happens, really, because I'm starting to enjoy it. I'm starting to. You know, I feel like if in the past I've been exactly at the midpoint between enjoying it and not enjoying it, I think I'm starting to nudge towards enjoying it more than not enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get more confident out there and starting to be a bit less nervous out there and a bit more myself, and so I'm quite interested to see where that goes, really. And so right now I can't call it a plan, because I've never got any confidence that I can write another show. I always think I've written my last joke. If you said just can you write a bit of stand-up tomorrow? I'd be like, no, of course not. That'd be ridiculous. It's impossible. How the hell could I do that? Even though I've written hours and hours and hours of it over the years, I've got no confidence that I could write another show. Absolutely none. Zero. So I can't call it a plan. I can't call it an ambition. I would just say I'm sort of. I think I'm going to carry on trying to write. And if that leads me to another show in a few years, great.
So, to some extent, the pace of the work becomes something that you're in control of, and then, you know, if you're feeling like writing, then you're writing, and if you're not, then you don't feel this, oh my god, I've got to do another tour next year, or I've got to do...
No, the only caveat to that is that so I've got no faith that I can ever write another joke. I've got no faith that I could write another show. Absolutely not. I can't even get my head around how on earth I would begin to write another show. Even though I've written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I've written 9. Well, 10. I don't know. Whatever. However many shows I've written.
Yeah.
But I've got no faith that I can write another one. Absolutely none. And I've never had. I didn't have faith that I could write the first one or the second one or the third one. Or whatever. But the only thing that is a fact, sort of indisputable, and I sometimes sort of throw this at myself in an argument with myself, is that, you know, for 33 years I didn't try and write any stand-up. Yeah. And I didn't write any stand-up. And then for 10 years I tried to write stand-up, and I did write stand-up. And then for the last 6 years I didn't try and write any stand-up, and I didn't write any stand-up. And for the last 2 years I've tried to write stand-up, and I did write stand-up. So the evidence is there that every single time in my life I've tried to write stand-up, I've written stand-up.
Yeah.
And every time I haven't. So that's all I know with any certainty, is if I try and write it, I probably will. And if I don't, I definitely won't. So I can't just sit around waiting for it. If I just go about my life and don't try, then I won't write any. So I have to try. And that means sitting down at a blank screen, you know, and sitting down and trying to write some stand-up. That's what it means for me.
And do you have a, I suppose looking back to this tour, did you have a way in which an idea came to you and then you ran to a laptop or something, or did you just sit in front of it and wait?
No, I think if an idea came to me, you know, sort of out of nowhere, then I would jot it down or record it on my phone or something like that, you know, that and then work it up, try and work on it maybe a bit later on the following week, the next day, whenever I had a chance, really.
Yeah.
But I would definitely write it down or record it, because, you know,
it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
All of the best things I've ever thought about are long gone in the ether, because I've just thought, oh, that's brilliant, and then I thought, I'll remember that, and then I'll write it down. And then
the worst thing is when you dream you're doing stand-up and you're smashing the shit out of it. Everybody's got crowds going wild, and you wake up and you go, what was I saying? Because I was definitely saying something.
Yeah.
I was definitely, and I was saying it for 10 minutes, and it was about... I think largely that's an illusion. I don't think you were doing great stand-up. I think it's just a dream, forget it.
Many of the dreams I tend to have.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thanks, mate. Rhod, this has been fantastic. Thanks so much for your time.
That's all right, pleasure. Good luck with the stand-up.
Thank you, you too. I hope you do enjoy it more and more, and I hope that balance does tick over to the...
Yeah, really maybe it's the graph as I'm getting older. Maybe I'm just giving less of a shit what people think, so I'm enjoying it more. It's possible.
I'd like to see visual aids of this graph in the next...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll email you something.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rhod.
All right, mate.
Cheers.
Pleasure.